Let me start with a question that deserves an honest answer, not a polite one. If your life stayed exactly the way it is right now, your habits, your income, your mindset, your results, where would you be 5 years from today? Not where you hope to be, not where you wish to be, but where your current direction is actually taking you. Because life has a quiet way of moving forward whether we are intentional or not. Most people wait for a breaking point before they decide to rebuild. They wait for failure, for loss, for regret to force change upon them. But rebuilding is not something reserved for those who have fallen apart. It is a decision made by those who refuse to remain the same. Growth does not require collapse. It requires awareness. Every day you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Through what you tolerate, through what you repeat, through what you postpone, these small, seemingly harmless choices are shaping a future that will eventually demand an explanation. The question is not whether change is coming. Change is inevitable. The real question is whether that change will be accidental or intentional. Tonight is not about motivation. It is about direction. Because the most powerful moment in a person's life is the moment they stop trying to fix the outside and start rebuilding themselves from within. Personal responsibility is the moment a person stops negotiating with excuses and starts dealing with reality as it is. It is the understanding that regardless of where you began, what you were handed, or what went wrong, your life ultimately responds to your decisions. Circumstances may influence direction, but they do not control destiny unless permission is given. The most powerful shift happens when someone realizes that waiting for external change is a slow and unreliable strategy, while changing oneself is immediate and always available. Taking responsibility does not mean denying hardship or pretending setbacks did not happen. It means acknowledging that while you may not have caused everything that occurred, you are responsible for what happens next. This mindset removes the illusion that someone else will arrive to fix things. No mentor, opportunity, or system can replace the effect of a person who decides to take charge of their own progress. Responsibility places control back into your hands, where it has always belonged. When responsibility is avoided, life becomes a series of explanations. Blame moves easily from parents to teachers, from the economy to society, from luck to timing. While these explanations may sound reasonable, they quietly steal power. Each excuse postpones growth, because improvement only begins where ownership exists. The person who blames circumstances waits. The person who accepts responsibility acts. Over time, this difference compounds into dramatically different lives. Responsibility sharpens awareness. Once you accept that your results reflect your actions, you begin to pay closer attention to how you think, speak, and behave. You notice patterns. You recognize habits that once ran unnoticed. You see how small choices repeated daily build either strength or weakness. This awareness is not meant to create guilt. It is meant to create clarity. Clarity allows correction, and correction is the foundation of rebuilding. There is a quiet dignity in personal responsibility. It replaces entitlement with effort and expectation with preparation. Instead of asking, "Why didn't this work out for me?" the responsible individual asks, "What must I improve to handle more?" This question shifts focus from fairness to readiness. Life does not reward potential. It responds to demonstrated capacity. Responsibility builds that capacity through consistent self-management. Responsibility also changes how failure is interpreted. Failure stops being a verdict and becomes feedback. When ownership is present, mistakes are examined instead of defended. Lessons are extracted instead of buried. This attitude turns setbacks into instructors rather than enemies. Progress accelerates because energy is spent on adjustment rather than justification. The individual grows stronger not because failure disappears, but because resilience increases. Self-responsibility demands honesty, especially when it is uncomfortable. It asks you to admit when effort was insufficient, when discipline was lacking, when priorities were misplaced. This honesty can sting, but it is far less painful than repeating the same cycle year after year. Growth begins at the point where self-deception ends. Responsibility removes the need to pretend and replaces it with the opportunity to improve. As responsibility deepens, confidence grows. Not the loud confidence based on appearance, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. You trust your ability to adapt, to learn, to endure. This confidence is not shaken by criticism or delay because it is rooted in character rather than approval. Each responsible choice strengthens self-respect, and self-respect becomes the backbone of personal rebuilding. Responsibility also influences how time is treated. Time stops being something to be spent and becomes something to be invested. Responsible people are careful with their hours because they understand that days shape years. They recognize that neglect compounds just as powerfully as discipline. This awareness leads to intentional living, where actions align more closely with long-term direction rather than short-term comfort. Ultimately, personal responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It is the permission to shape your life from the inside out. It is the realization that while you cannot control every event, you can control your response, your preparation, your attitude, and your persistence. From that position, rebuilding becomes possible, not because life becomes easier, but because the individual becomes stronger, more capable, and more deliberate in every choice they make moving forward. Self-discipline is the quiet force that shapes character long before it produces visible results. It is not an act of restriction, but a commitment to direction. When a person decides to rebuild themselves, discipline becomes the structure that holds intention in place. Motivation may ignite desire, but discipline sustains progress. Without it, goals remain ideas, and improvement becomes inconsistent. Discipline is the decision to act according to long-term values rather than short-term impulses. At its core, self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done even when comfort, mood, or convenience argues otherwise. It is choosing effort over ease and preparation over procrastination. This choice, repeated daily, forms the backbone of personal strength. Each disciplined action sends a signal to the mind that you are reliable, that your word to yourself matters. Over time, this trust builds inner stability, which is essential when rebuilding after setbacks or stagnation. Discipline works best when it is small and steady. Grand gestures rarely last, but simple routines practiced consistently reshape behavior. Waking up at a planned time, dedicating moments to learning, managing finances carefully, or maintaining physical health may seem ordinary, yet these actions accumulate power through repetition. Discipline thrives in simplicity because it removes the need for constant decision-making. When habits are aligned with purpose, progress becomes automatic rather than forced. One of the greatest misconceptions about discipline is that it limits freedom. In truth, it creates freedom. The disciplined individual is less controlled by cravings, distractions, and emotional reactions. By mastering impulses, they gain the ability to choose deliberately rather than react instinctively. This self-command opens opportunities that remain closed to those ruled by inconsistency. Discipline expands capacity by reducing chaos. Discipline also trains patience. Results often lag behind effort, and without discipline, this delay becomes discouraging. Discipline allows action to continue even when rewards are not immediately visible. It teaches the mind to respect process instead of demanding instant outcomes. This patience is crucial in rebuilding, where growth is gradual and setbacks are common. Discipline ensures continuity when enthusiasm fades. There is also a refining effect to discipline. It sharpens focus by eliminating excess. When you commit to disciplined behavior, you begin to say no more often to distractions, to unproductive habits, to misaligned commitments. This selective restraint concentrates energy on what truly matters. Over time, life becomes more intentional and progress accelerates because effort is no longer scattered. Discipline strengthens identity. Each time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of consistency. This belief influences future behavior, making discipline easier to maintain. Conversely, repeated neglect weakens self-image and increases internal resistance. Discipline repairs this damage by reestablishing alignment between intention and action. The person you are becoming is shaped by what you repeatedly do, not by what you occasionally attempt. In moments of difficulty, discipline becomes an anchor. When emotions fluctuate or circumstances change, discipline provides stability. It prevents reactionary decisions and keeps behavior aligned with long-term direction. This steadiness is especially important during rebuilding, when uncertainty can tempt abandonment of effort. Discipline allows progress to continue quietly beneath surface challenges. Discipline also teaches self-respect. When you honor commitments to yourself, you communicate value inwardly. This internal respect is more durable than external validation. It strengthens resolve and reduces dependence on motivation or approval. Over time, discipline becomes less about forcing action and more about preserving integrity. Rebuilding without discipline is like constructing on unstable ground. Effort collapses under pressure because there is no structure to support it. Discipline provides that structure not through rigidity, but through reliability. It is the steady application of effort, the quiet refusal to quit, the willingness to show up repeatedly regardless of mood or outcome. Through discipline, potential is converted into performance, intention into reality, and rebuilding becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Learning and growth form the engine that drives personal rebuilding. When a person decides to improve their life, the first place that must expand is the mind. Everything you do, attempt, or become is filtered through what you know, how you think, and what you believe is possible. If those internal resources remain unchanged, external progress will always be limited. Learning is not merely the accumulation of information, it is the deliberate process of reshaping perspective, upgrading judgment, and increasing awareness. Growth begins when curiosity replaces complacency. The moment you stop assuming you already know enough, development becomes possible. Many people stagnate not because they lack opportunity, but because they stop learning once formal education ends. Yet life continues to test, demand, and stretch long after school is over. Continuous learning prepares you for challenges before they arrive and equips you to respond intelligently rather than emotionally. A growing mind creates options where a fixed mind sees only obstacles. Self-education is especially powerful because it is intentional. You choose what to study based on where you want to go, not on what is required of you. Reading, listening, observing, and reflecting become tools for personal advancement. Each new idea refines how you interpret experiences. Each lesson absorbed improves decision-making. Over time, this internal expansion leads to better outcomes, not because luck improves, but because competence increases. Learning also reshapes self-belief. Exposure to new ideas and examples expands the sense of what is achievable. When you see how others have navigated difficulty, built skills, or transformed circumstances, limitations begin to feel less absolute. Growth dissolves the illusion that your current condition is permanent. It replaces resignation with possibility and replaces fear with understanding. Knowledge does not eliminate risk, but it reduces uncertainty, and reduced uncertainty strengthens confidence. Growth is not confined to intellectual development alone. Emotional growth, social understanding, and self-awareness are equally important. Learning how to manage emotions, communicate effectively, and interpret feedback accurately improves relationships and leadership. These skills are often overlooked, yet they influence outcomes as strongly as technical ability. A person who grows emotionally responds thoughtfully instead of reactively, listens instead of assuming, and adjusts instead of resisting. Mistakes play a central role in learning. Growth requires the willingness to examine errors without self-judgment. When learning is embraced, failure becomes instructional rather than discouraging. Each mistake reveals a gap in understanding or preparation. Those gaps guide future learning, making progress more precise. The person committed to growth does not avoid failure, they extract value from it and move forward with greater clarity. Learning also encourages adaptability. In a changing world, rigid thinking becomes a liability. Growth-oriented individuals adjust because they are willing to update beliefs and methods. They understand that what worked before may not work now, and they remain open to refinement. This adaptability ensures relevance and resilience. Rebuilding yourself requires flexibility, and learning keeps that flexibility alive. Another effect of learning is improved discipline of thought. As knowledge increases, thinking becomes more structured and deliberate. You begin to distinguish between opinion and fact, impulse and insight. This mental discipline improves judgment and reduces wasted effort. Decisions become more aligned with long-term direction rather than short-term emotion. A well-trained mind becomes a reliable guide during uncertainty. Growth also deepens humility. The more you learn, the more you recognize how much remains unknown. This humility prevents stagnation and keeps effort active. It allows collaboration, encourages listening, and invites correction. Growth-minded individuals are not threatened by new ideas because they see them as opportunities rather than challenges to ego. Rebuilding yourself without learning is like trying to travel without a map. Effort may be sincere, but direction remains unclear. Learning provides guidance, context, and perspective. It strengthens inner resources so that when opportunities appear, you are prepared to act wisely. Growth does not guarantee immediate success, but it steadily increases the odds by refining how you think, choose, and respond. Over time, this internal expansion quietly transforms capacity, positioning you to handle greater responsibility, navigate complexity, and move forward with increasing effectiveness. Changing habits rather than circumstances is one of the most overlooked principles of personal rebuilding. Many people believe that improvement will arrive when conditions improve, when resources increase, or when external pressure disappears. This belief creates a waiting mentality that delays progress indefinitely. Circumstances are often unpredictable and slow to change, but habits operate daily and respond immediately to intention. The quality of life is largely a reflection of habitual behavior repeated over time, not the environment in which those behaviors occur. Habits function quietly, shaping outcomes without demanding attention. They determine how time is used, how energy is spent, and how decisions are made. Because habits operate automatically, They often go unnoticed until results become unavoidable. When outcomes are unsatisfactory, the instinct is to blame conditions rather than patterns. Yet the same circumstances can produce different results for different people, revealing that behavior, not environment, carries greater influence. Focusing on circumstances places responsibility outward. It encourages thoughts such as needing more money, more time, better connections, or fewer obstacles before progress can begin. While these factors can help, they are not prerequisites for improvement. Waiting for perfect conditions postpones growth, whereas adjusting habits allows change to begin immediately. The person who alters daily behavior creates momentum regardless of situation. Habit change requires awareness first. You cannot replace what you do not recognize. Rebuilding begins when patterns are observed honestly. How mornings are started, how distractions are handled, how commitments are followed through, how stress is managed. These patterns may seem insignificant individually, but together they form direction. Once awareness exists, intentional adjustment becomes possible. Replacing habits is more effective than attempting elimination alone. Removing a behavior without substituting a constructive alternative leaves a void that often pulls the old pattern back. For example, replacing idle time with learning, replacing reactive responses with pause, or replacing late nights with structured routines gradually reshapes behavior. This substitution process reduces resistance and makes consistency more achievable. Habits compound over time. A small positive habit may seem insignificant today, but its influence multiplies through repetition. Likewise, negative habits slowly erode progress until consequences become visible. This compounding effect explains why change often feels slow at first and then accelerates. Understanding this principle prevents discouragement during early stages of rebuilding. Progress may be subtle initially, but direction has already shifted. Changing habits also alters identity. Behavior reinforces self-image. When habits improve, self-perception follows. You begin to see yourself as disciplined, capable, and intentional. This identity shift strengthens commitment because actions align with how you now view yourself. Conversely, maintaining poor habits reinforces limiting beliefs. Habit change breaks this cycle by providing evidence of capability through action. Environment can support habit change, but it should not be mistaken as the source of it. Adjusting surroundings helps reduce friction, yet the decision to act must still come from within. The disciplined individual uses environment as a tool, not an excuse. When habits are prioritized, even challenging circumstances become manageable training grounds rather than barriers. Habit change also builds resilience. When external conditions fluctuate, habits provide stability. They anchor behavior to intention rather than emotion. This stability is essential during rebuilding, when uncertainty can disrupt focus. Habits maintain progress during difficult periods by reducing reliance on motivation. You act because it is what you do, not because you feel inspired. Over time, improved habits reshape circumstances naturally. Financial habits influence income stability. Health habits affect energy and endurance. Communication habits impact relationships. Learning habits expand opportunity. As habits improve, circumstances begin to reflect those changes without being directly pursued. This sequence reverses the common mistake of chasing outcomes instead of refining behavior. Rebuilding through habit change empowers immediate action. It removes the dependency on external permission or perfect timing. Each day offers opportunities to reinforce constructive behavior regardless of situation. Circumstances may influence pace, but habits determine direction. When daily actions are aligned with long-term intention, progress continues steadily. Change becomes sustainable because it is rooted in behavior rather than conditions, and rebuilding becomes a practical process carried out through consistent, deliberate choice rather than wishful thinking. Patience and time play a critical role in rebuilding because meaningful change does not respond to urgency, emotion, or pressure. Growth follows a natural rhythm that cannot be rushed without weakening its foundation. Many people abandon improvement efforts not because they are ineffective, but because they underestimate how long progress takes to reveal itself. When expectations are misaligned with reality, discouragement replaces persistence, and rebuilding stalls prematurely. Time is not an obstacle to rebuilding, it is the medium through which rebuilding occurs. Skills require repetition, habits require reinforcement, and character requires testing. None of these elements mature instantly. Impatience often leads to constant strategy changes, unfinished efforts, and shallow development. Each time direction is abandoned, momentum resets. Patience allows momentum to accumulate long enough for results to emerge. Understanding the delay between effort and outcome is essential. Most valuable improvements operate beneath the surface before becoming visible. Learning expands awareness long before it produces opportunity. Discipline strengthens reliability long before it yields achievement. Health improves internally before it shows externally. This invisible phase can feel unproductive, but it is where the foundation is laid. Those who quit early miss the compounding effect that occurs later. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active consistency without emotional urgency. It means continuing to act correctly even when progress seems slow or unnoticed. This mindset prevents emotional reactions from disrupting long-term direction. Impatience often demands immediate reward, while patience accepts delayed gratification. This acceptance allows rebuilding efforts to remain steady and focused. Time also tests commitment. Initial enthusiasm can carry effort for a short period, but only patience sustains it beyond novelty. As rebuilding becomes routine rather than exciting, patience keeps effort alive. It transforms rebuilding from a temporary project into a long-term practice. This transition is critical because lasting change is built through continuity rather than intensity. Patience strengthens perspective. It shifts focus from daily fluctuations to long-term direction. Setbacks feel less discouraging when viewed within a larger time frame. Instead of interpreting a single failure as evidence of inability, patient individuals see it as part of a longer learning process. This perspective reduces emotional volatility and preserves confidence. Time provides feedback that cannot be rushed. Patterns become visible only through repetition. You begin to see which habits are effective, which approaches require adjustment, and which behaviors consistently undermine progress. Without allowing time to pass, these insights remain unclear. Patience allows accurate evaluation, preventing premature conclusions. There is also a protective aspect to patience. Rapid success achieved without sufficient preparation often collapses under pressure. Time ensures that growth is balanced and durable. It allows skills to deepen, discipline to solidify, and understanding to mature. This durability becomes especially important when responsibilities increase. What develops slowly tends to last longer because it has been tested gradually. Patience also reduces comparison. When focused on long-term development, external timelines lose influence. Comparing progress to others creates unnecessary pressure and distortion. Everyone rebuilds from a different starting point and under different conditions. Patience restores attention to personal direction rather than external benchmarks. This internal focus improves satisfaction and persistence. Rebuilding requires trust in the process. Patience nurtures this trust by reinforcing the belief that consistent effort will eventually produce results. This belief keeps effort active during uncertainty. Without patience, doubt multiplies and effort becomes inconsistent. With patience, action continues even when clarity is incomplete. Time cannot be controlled, but it can be respected. Those who respect time plan realistically, act consistently, and evaluate honestly. They understand that rushing undermines quality and that endurance outperforms intensity. Rebuilding becomes less about speed and more about sustainability. Patience does not eliminate difficulty, but it prevents difficulty from becoming defeat. It provides the emotional stability required to continue when progress feels slow. Time rewards those who remain committed long enough for effort to compound. Through patience, rebuilding becomes a steady evolution rather than a desperate attempt at quick transformation, allowing growth to unfold naturally through consistent, deliberate effort over extended periods. Becoming more rather than merely getting more is the principle that separates shallow success from lasting fulfillment. Many people focus their energy on acquiring possessions, titles, or recognition, believing these external rewards will create satisfaction. While material progress has value, it is always limited by the person pursuing it. What you achieve in life is ultimately constrained by who you become in the process. If personal growth does not keep pace with external gain, success becomes fragile and difficult to sustain. When the primary goal is to get more, effort is often driven by comparison, urgency, or fear of lacking. This creates pressure without purpose. Once a target is reached, satisfaction fades quickly and a new desire replaces it. The cycle continues without producing depth or stability. Becoming more shifts focus inward, where development creates lasting capacity. Skills, discipline, wisdom, and character expand your ability to handle opportunity responsibly and effectively. Becoming more begins with internal standards. Instead of asking how much can be gained, the question becomes how much can be improved. This mindset prioritizes growth in thinking, behavior, and values. You invest in understanding rather than shortcuts, in preparation rather than appearance. As internal strength increases, external results tend to follow naturally. Achievement becomes a byproduct of development rather than its sole objective. Personal growth enhances resilience. External rewards fluctuate and can be lost, but internal qualities endure. Confidence rooted in competence remains stable even during difficulty. Discipline remains effective regardless of circumstance. Wisdom continues to guide decisions when conditions change. By becoming more, you reduce dependency on external validation and increase self-reliance. This stability allows you to navigate success and failure with balance. Becoming more also deepens fulfillment. Growth provides a sense of progress that material gain alone cannot offer. Learning, improving habits, refining skills, and strengthening character create internal satisfaction independent of outcome. This satisfaction sustains motivation even when external rewards are delayed. It transforms effort from a transaction into a meaningful pursuit. Another advantage of becoming more is expanded contribution. As personal capacity increases, so does the ability to serve others. Improved communication strengthens relationships. Greater discipline creates reliability. Increased knowledge enables guidance. Influence grows not through position alone, but through competence and character. Contribution adds purpose to progress, making success more rewarding and less self-centered. When focus remains on getting more, shortcuts become tempting. Ethical boundaries blur under pressure to achieve. Becoming more emphasizes integrity over speed. Growth requires patience and consistency, discouraging reckless behavior. The person you are becoming acts as a filter for decisions, ensuring alignment between values and actions. This alignment protects reputation and self-respect. Becoming more also prepares you for increased responsibility. Success brings complexity. Without personal growth, opportunity becomes overwhelming. Many struggle not because they lack opportunity, but because they outgrow their capacity too slowly. Growth expands that capacity gradually, allowing responsibility to be managed effectively. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall or rise to the level of your development. This principle also changes how progress is measured. Instead of evaluating life solely by outcomes, progress is assessed by improvement. Effort is valued even before results appear. This reduces frustration and sustains consistency. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine rather than a test to pass. Improvement accumulates quietly until results become visible. Becoming more encourages humility. Growth reveals complexity and reinforces the need for continuous learning. Arrogance limits development while humility sustains it. This openness allows adjustment, correction, and refinement. Growth-minded individuals do not cling to status, they remain adaptable. This adaptability becomes a competitive advantage over time. External success achieved without internal growth often creates imbalance. Pressure increases while capacity remains unchanged. Stress replaces satisfaction. By contrast, when growth leads, success feels manageable. Responsibility aligns with readiness. Rewards feel deserved rather than burdensome. Becoming more ensures that whatever you achieve can be sustained, expanded, and enjoyed responsibly. It transforms success from a fragile outcome into a stable extension of who you are. As you grow in discipline, understanding, and character, life responds accordingly, not because you chased rewards aggressively, but because you became capable of handling them wisely and effectively. As we come to the end, remember this. Rebuilding yourself is not a single decision. It is a lifelong practice. It begins the moment you accept responsibility for who you are and who you are becoming. It continues through discipline when motivation fades, through learning when ignorance limits progress, through habit change when comfort resists effort, and through patience when results take longer than expected. Rebuilding is not about perfection, and it is not about comparison. It is about progress, steady, intentional progress in the right direction. You do not rebuild by waiting for the world to change. You rebuild by changing how you think, how you act, and how you respond. Every improvement you make within strengthens what you can create outside. Over time, small choices compound into confidence, clarity, and capability. The future you desire is not found somewhere ahead of you. It is built daily by the person you are willing to become. If you commit to becoming more disciplined, more aware, more capable, life will meet you at that level. Opportunities will make sense. Challenges will feel manageable. Success will no longer feel fragile because it will be supported by growth. I wish you the courage to begin, the discipline to continue, and the patience to trust the process. Good luck on your journey of rebuilding yourself. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to invest in your own growth.